Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another episode for On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and I'm along with,
Tyler from On Spot Sports.
and this is probably the first time we're doing it live, like
Yeah,
together.
I was going to say something like we have not been able to meet up like together in person. It's always been over the phone. I know you guys are probably sick of hearing me as an audio, but today,
Today
or
is
should I say
live.
tonight, we are live for the first time. I'm super excited to do this live, and we got a fun little episode here for you guys. This is going to be some good stuff because we just went to the Chicago Blackhawks game tonight, and we're going to tell you about our experience. I'm sure Jack's been through it many times, but for me, it was my first Blackhawks game. I'm very glad I got to check that one off the list, but we're here to just talk about the experience of the game and other NHL news, other even AHL news. So this one is going to be a hockey episode today.
Finally get back onto that hockey episode. So,
Yeah.
especially since we went to the Hawks game, it's a perfect time too.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. So today we went to the Chicago Blackhawks game against the Anaheim Ducks, and let's just say it was a pretty good game.
I'd say for sure.
Especially for your first one.
Yeah, I mean,
Take us through that experience.
I've heard they're loud, and that definitely did not disappoint. Madhouse on Madison, you know what they say about the United Center. It was really fun. You know, the Blackhawks were the one and only Chicago team, other than the Chicago White Sox, because I'm not a fan of them personally. That Chicago sports team that I've not been to a game. So to finally check this one off the list, a Blackhawks game, it was really fun. And like I said, great game to go to as well. They got a nice win.
Nice 4-2 win. Nice 4-2 win. Robin Leonard played unreal.
He had some amazing
sick saves, especially in that third period.
I just want to know what his wingspan was for some of these saves. Because, I mean, he went up and got some of those.
I know. And we almost saw Dominic Kovalchuk hat-trick. He just missed it by, half a centimeter?
I mean, that was insane. I mean, empty net, they put him in with about 30 seconds left. He has a little lane, he kind of flicks it, and then it misses the right pole by literally not even exaggerating, about an inch or two.
And then he gets another chance, but misses the net on that one.
I think a Ducks player hit him on that one.
Yeah. It was blocked. But then didn't matter. Hawks still won 4-2 at the end of the night. That's all that matters. Get the 2 points, get out.
That's right.
Especially for the Hawks, they're back at 500 at 20-20 right now. So it was a good game. It was my second game of the week. I went to the Hawks game on Tuesday where they lost against the Calgary Flames 2-1. So that was a disappointing game, but I was glad to get to have the Hawks get a win during tonight's game. So, Tyler, what do you think of the national anthem?
Loved it. I absolutely loved it. I've heard Jim Cornelison a couple times before. This would make sense for how I've heard him. I'm a pretty big NASCAR fan, and so the Chicagoland Speedway, where I go to see the races pretty much every year, he does the national anthem at that track. So I've heard him quite a few times. Great singer. But to hear him for the first time at the Blackhawks Stadium, and like I said, that kind of environment, I mean, Chicago is famously known for the Blackhawks for cheering during the whole national anthem, and I almost forgot about that until the very last second. I'm like, right, everyone cheers. I mean, it was loud. It was awesome.
It was loud.
Some people, I hate when some people say that it's disrespectful towards the flag. I think anyone who says that is completely and utterly wrong. That is a sign of respect. Cheering for a country, cheering for a nation,
cheering for America,
and cheering for a great song, and cheering for Jim Cornelison, who, like I said, all-time great singer.
One of the best all-time singers.
He does such a great job. And like I said, just to experience that, it was awesome. It was completely awesome.
Yeah, and then the game started. When Tommy Hawk bangs his drum thing to start the Let's Go Hawks thing, that's pretty electric too. And then the Ducks got off to a 1-0 start, which was unfortunate. But what do you think of that first goal by Dominic Kovalchuk and like how the fans all erupt?
Well, I think that actually wasn't the first goal Jonathan Toews.
Oh yeah, it was a 2-on-1.
It was like, yeah, he kind of broke away on the left side and then just kind of flicked it in. Really good job by Toews. He hasn't really been the electric goal scorer that we see Kane. You know, Kane and Toews have been the identity of the Blackhawks, and it's been Kane more so racking up all the points. But it was really cool to see Toews flick that one in there. You know, he's been my personal favorite for a while. But just, again, see that, it was really cool. I got no words.
Loud again.
Very, very loud. But the one you mentioned about Dominic Kovalchuk. Yeah. Hawks put pressure. I mean,
especially in the second period.
Second period. I mean, they had, 3-4 shots on goal just in that little series. And they were poking at him. We were right there, and we were like, oh, they're so close. And then someone gets a good shot, and then catches John Gibson off guard. Kovalchuk is right there, punches it in. That was like, yeah, you know, everyone got up for that. That's like I think that's when the Hawks kind of took control of the game, so to speak. Because, I mean, they can't, like you said, they came out in that second period, like, absolutely playing electric.
They made it 3-1 soon after that goal, too, which was really good for them. And we saw 2 goals on our side of the second period.
Yeah.
And then the Ducks put one in the third period to make it a 1-goal game, and then Kovalchuk again puts it in for the Hawks, make it 4-2, and the rest is history. Hawks win.
Yeah, like I said, Kovalchuk almost got that hat trick twice, but in the end, Blackhawks win. I think it was a great result.
It was a great day for Blackhawks hockey too. It was snowing here in Chicago. It wasn't as bad as it was supposed to be, though, which is nice.
Yes.
And it's an easy drive to the United Center.
Actually, I meant to bring this up, too. This is a really big win for the Blackhawks because currently, right now, I believe they were in last place in the Central Division going into this game. And for them to get a win like that puts 2 points on the board. You know, they may still be 7th, 6th, or 5th, but a win's a win. You know, at this point of the season, you know, All-Star break is looming. Teams want to get as much momentum as they can going into this final stretch. And for the Blackhawks to put a win up like that, you never know. It could be a turning point. So I think that was a very important win for the Blackhawks. Look at last year what the St. Louis Blues were able to do from last place and all the way to the Stanley Cup final.
It was around this time, too.
It was. Yeah, January 3rd, I believe they were last.
Yeah, and anything's possible. The Blues have proved that to us. Anything is possible, so – well, we're hoping for the best for the Hawks. Hopefully they can pull off some magic and do the same thing the Blues did last year. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it or anything.
Yeah, I'm not.
We'll just see what happens.
Jinxing it.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So the experience overall was unreal. I remember my first Hawks game.
When was that?
Long time ago. Probably when I was 8, maybe. So
you got me beat by about 10 years right there.
It's like almost 11 years or 11, 12 years, somewhere around there. Yeah, Hawks lost. I think they're playing Vancouver Canucks, I believe.
Ugh.
And they lost, but like the experience, you have to go to a Hawks game if you're in Chicago. The experience is one to visit and one to remember. It's an unreal stadium, unreal feeling, unreal team, unreal fans.
All the history, it's right there.
All the history is right there. It's incredible. So, you want to get on to some NHL news now?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, first let's look at the standings. See where the teams are at right now. So in the Eastern Conference, we got Washington Capitals at 30-11-5, Pittsburgh Penguins in second in the Metropolitan, New York Islanders in third by a point over the behind the Penguins. Then 2 points below the Islanders, you got the Carolina Hurricanes, the surging Carolina Hurricanes. Then you got the Philadelphia Flyers. You don't really see them out there that often, but they're an improved team for sure. And then you got Columbus, the New York Rangers, and New Jersey Devils to close out the Metropolitan Division. Then we move on to the Atlantic Division. We got Boston, 27-8-11, 65 points already in the season. That's really good. Got Tampa in second, Toronto in third, Florida fourth, and then 6 points out from Florida is Buffalo, 19-19, after they had a really strong start to the season. Then you got Montreal, just under 500. And you got Ottawa and Detroit to close out the Eastern Conference. So now we move on to the Western Conference. And you got in the Central Division, you got the reigning Stanley Cup champs, St. Louis Blues at 29-10-7. Then you got the Dallas Stars, who has had some changes over the past few weeks. Then you got the Colorado Avalanche, Winnipeg Jets, Nashville Predators, and the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks are tied for that sixth spot with 46 points. And then we move into the Pacific, and you got Calgary at 25-17-5. You got Arizona, which is you don't really see Arizona up there, but
looks extremely interesting to see the Coyotes up in second place.
Arizona has had a fantastic season so far, so I'm hoping they keep it up and continue to impress the league. Then in third, you got Vegas, 24-18-6, who's also tied with Arizona. Then a point below Vegas and Arizona, you got the Edmonton Oilers. And then a point lower than Edmonton, you got Vancouver. And then there's a bit of a drop-off between San Jose, Los Angeles, and then Anaheim, who we saw today. So those standings are pretty interesting for the most part. Some of it's expected, but Arizona, they're having a great season so far.
I mean, yeah, Coyotes, this has been a hell of a season for them. I mean, considering what has it been, like the past 4 or 5 years, consistently one of the worst teams in the league. And, the resurgence is obviously coming, second in the division, pretty much locked into a spot as of right now. Anything can change, but the Coyotes, they got to be happy with what's going on over there because, like I said, going from one of the few worst teams in the league to right up in the playoff mix, hats off to the Coyotes.
They got 2 solid goaltenders, too, Darcy Kemper and Antti Raanta.
I remember Raanta for a little bit from when he was a Blackhawk.
They're both putting up great numbers. Aiden Hill also helped Darcy Kemper when Antti Raanta was out with an injury. So that helped the Coyotes a lot. But Kemper was pulling most of that load, and he really has proven that he can take this team to the top. And the reigning Stanley Cup champion, St. Louis Blues, do you expect them to stay at the top? Or do you expect them to go down?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I had mixed feelings in the Blues. I just kind of put them overall for the season as like a wild card. Like sometimes the defending champions can have a little bit of like they could not be just like as great. I expected that, but them being right at the top again, I was a little surprised. I honestly expected a team like the Predators or the Stars to step up and be first or second, but the Blues, they have a great roster, don't get me wrong, but like I said, sometimes, the defending champions, they're not – you expect so much from them the following season and they don't live up to that, and so I kind of expected that, but them being right in the mix, it's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure, and they usually a lot of teams will have that downtime in or down time at the beginning of the season, so they'll start out really poor, which the Blues did not do. They just continue to succeed. They also have gotten help from Jordan Binnington, since he took the load ever since January last year and took them all the way to Stanley Cup Finals. Jake Allen has definitely improved this year, as he's 7-3 right now.
Is Binnington hurt?
No, but usually St. Louis would have a backup issue, especially in the last few years. They had backup issues. Jake Allen was not doing so hot last year. He had a bunch of stretches where he's very inconsistent, but if it seems like he's gotten down to business this season and has definitely stepped up his game. Even though he's only played 15 games so far, he's still proving to be a lot better of a goalie than he was last year.
So did they bench Binnington in favor of Allen?
They switch off now, usually. Every few games.
That's an interesting way to go about it,
Binnington's the main starter, though, still.
Yeah, I expected that. With the way he performed last year, I expected him to be the starting goalie.
Binnington is 22-7 right now. Still putting up incredible numbers.
Incredible, yeah.
He's 46-12 in his NHL career in the past 2 seasons.
As a rookie last year.
As a rookie. And he has 6 shutouts. In 2 years.
That's crazy. Look out for this kid, man. The Blues better not let him go.
Talk about a change for the good compared to what they were doing 2 years ago. Then we talked about the Chicago Blackhawks earlier. What do you expect them to do by the end of the season?
If they don't make the playoffs, I won't be too entirely surprised. They've had a lot of struggling issues over the last couple of years. Ever since they won the last Stanley Cup, it's kind of gone a little bit downhill. They made the playoffs the year after, but an early first-round exit was all they could muster. And then, ever since then, it's been no playoff, and it's looking like another no playoff year unless they shape up something. But I really think the firing of Joel Quenneville is what ultimately put this team a little bit down on the bottom. I didn't necessarily think that it was Quenneville's fault, but we all know in any sports league majority, the head coach does not have the number one say-so compared to the general manager. And ultimately, Joel Quenneville was relieved of his duties because of the team's failure to success, essentially. And, the promoting of Jeremy Colleton. Is it Colleton?
Yeah.
Colleton, yeah. We heard boos consistently tonight when he was introduced by the Hawks at the home stadium.
That's
a lot of boos.
It's a very interesting situation because, maybe his system isn't working right now, but it could change, and you just need time with that, and hopefully with time, even though time's running out a bit, hopefully they'll be able to put something together and put on a string and get some wins. But I feel like the time for Colleton will be short if he does not help this team get into a groove. I think he'll be relieved of his duties if he doesn't get this team going.
Yeah.
Because 20-20, it's not really
it's not something to be too proud of.
Something you want to be proud of.
It's technically under 500 also if you count overtime losses.
True. And it's not the Blackhawks style to be a 500 team. They're usually way up in the standings.
Yeah, ever since
the last few years.
The late 2000s, it's been nothing but good results after that just long stretch of failure by first owner Bill Wirtz.
And now it's starting to come back where they're not doing so hot. So he's got to muster some things down, get to the groove, get to the grind, hopefully move up their way in the standings. They have the talent. They have the talent to do stuff. It's just about executing that. And also other news with the Central Division. Peter Laviolette of the Nashville Predators recently got fired after they started out 19-15, I believe, and now they're 20-16, 2016-7. What do you think of that?
I was really shocked by this decision. I mean, I understand, you want to make necessary changes. I mean, the Nashville Predators have been a Stanley Cup competing team for like the last couple of seasons. And, now they're barely on the outside looking in. I was honestly very shocked to see them fire Peter Laviolette because he's had a lot of success as a head coach. So you'd think that they find a way to try to work around it and, try to bring this team up. But I was honestly very surprised that the first kind of time we see them on the outside looking in is when he gets fired. Very, very shocking. And I actually was meaning to bring up Nashville as a kind of team that has surprised me with their results. I mean, like I said, they've been consistent playoff contenders. And now, like I said, for the first really times in a couple of years, they're on the outside looking in. They get rid of their head coach. It's a very shocking move. And I think for whichever team who's going through coaching changes here, you have to look at Peter Laviolette as a coaching candidate because he has been proven to turn teams around.
Yeah, I'm also really surprised by that move because 19-15 honestly isn't that bad, especially this point in the season. But, I do get it that the Predators are supposed to be a high contending team.
Yeah, they have buttloads of talent.
They have a lot of talent.
One of the most talented teams in the league.
For sure. And so that came as a surprise. And then they bring in John Hines as a head coach. And Thursday he got his first win as the Predators head coach against the Chicago Blackhawks. And it was also a rare thing also happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the highlight was him getting his first win. I think there's another highlight that we need to take a moment and
Pekka Rinne scoring goalie goal all the way from behind his net into the empty net to seal the deal 5-2. Predators.
I don't know how you can get a better goal in an NHL game, let alone from a goalie against the Chicago Blackhawks, of course.
Even though it's against the Hawks and that's our hometown team, you can't be sad about that.
Yeah.
It's always fun seeing a goalie score.
I mean, what is that? They said 12th time ever that's ever happened?
12th or 13th. The last time was Mike Smith in 2013 with the Arizona Coyotes.
It's been a while.
It's good to see goalie get a goal. It's always fun to watch that, and he'll be on the highlight reel forever.
Yeah. Maybe the shot of the year, play of the year.
The shot of the year, goal of the year, for sure. Especially goalie goal of the year so far, since no one has done it. That's a winner so far.
Well, goalie goal of the year. Well, obviously that. And like you said, it hasn't happened since 2013.
Will another goalie score a goal in the near future?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting debate is when will the next goalie score a goal? It will happen, but it is rare.
Who would you think would score if it was a current NHL goalie? I say Mike Smith again.
Where is he even right now?
I mentioned Oilers.
Oh. I don't know. I have to think about that, honestly.
Marc-Andre Fleury could do it too, I think.
He's a good one. I wouldn't be surprised if he could pull it off too. This is a dark horse shot, but I could say Martin Jones for the Sharks. He's known to show a little bit of aggression. I wouldn't be too surprised if he did it.
I could definitely see that happening too.
Another one I could possibly see is maybe Ben Bishop for the Stars.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with how tall he is. His length.
He could put a lot of power on that puck and put the right amount of zing, and it could just fly right by everybody.
Just like Pekka did.
Yeah.
So moving on, the Dallas actually also fired their head coach earlier this month, I believe it was, or
Jim
last
Montgomery.
month. Jim Montgomery was released of his duties. What do you think of that?
Well, this was one of the articles I actually read a little bit on this when I was particularly interested. I heard he had some issues with alcohol abuse, and it was getting to the point where it was affecting others around him at his job and the players. And you know what? Honestly, I don't blame the Dallas Stars for doing this because, like I said, you never know.
You want a coach to represent what you value as a team.
Exactly. And you don't want anything bad to happen to any of your players.
Especially if you're under the influence of alcohol.
Yes. Well, like I said, that's the other thing. We don't know the specific details of where he was doing it, when he was doing it, was he with the team when he was doing it. We don't know some of these specifics, but it's a very serious matter, and professional sports, and none of that should be going on. But I did read up on that, and like I said, he did check into an alcohol rehab center, so that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
I respect him after the firing because I did see that he said he
wants to change his life.
Yeah,
it woke him up.
He's thankful. Yeah, he's thankful that the Stars did that so he could change his life.
There was a lot of speculation around that before, since all the other I believe it was 2 other head coaches that recently got fired for the abuse of the players.
Oh, was that Calgary? Bill, was his name?
Yeah, I believe it was Calgary. Yeah. It was
very interesting stuff.
It was allegations from a few years ago that happened to come up, and then they got also with the Blackhawks assistant coach.
Oh yeah, Mark Crawford.
Yeah, Mark Crawford. He also got that. He was
he was put on leave, or he was either suspended or something. But I believe he did return to his job.
Yeah.
So he is back with the Blackhawks. And speaking of actually put on leave, I want to bring this up because this does not involve a particular team, but it involves an analyst for hockey. I was completely shocked by reading this. Jeremy Roenick got placed on administrative leave by NBC Sports because of inappropriate language about his coworker Catherine Tappan, the I believe it's play-by-play. Would you say no? Well,
NHL Network analysis. Yeah, that was also very interesting.
The comments that he made, I was very puzzled by them. I really don't, and he said it on a podcast too, which makes it even more kind of cringy because just why would you say that kind of stuff? He literally talked about him and Roenick and his wife going on vacation with Catherine Tappan and her husband, and then the 4 of them sleeping together. It's very strange.
Yeah, that's
and he also
very
made
strange
specific references about Catherine Tappan herself that just it bugs you the wrong way.
That just should not happen.
No. And yeah, Jeremy Roenick was put on leave. Very
interesting situation. That should not happen at all.
Yeah,
in any sport.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does not come back to NBC because
just about reputation and all that. It's the reputation is not gonna be that good for NBC if he comes back.
Well,
or for him alone, his reputation is going to be ruined probably.
Well, I was about to say I agree with that 100%, but if NBC does not allow him to come back, I don't think he'll ever get an analyst job again because I believe NBC has pretty much all the broadcasting rights to the NHL. There's not another main network that would take him. ESPN rarely covers hockey. CBS never covers hockey. Fox never covers hockey. It's all NBC. And if they don't let him back, NHL Network, they wouldn't allow him either because NHL Network, NBC, that's kind of like a partnership right there. If NBC doesn't let him come back, he's done. He's never getting an analyst job again. So it's just very strange that he would say this on a podcast, knowing that there'd be a lot of viewers. And
especially for who he is. You're going to get a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, the stuff, it's just very, very puzzling. I don't understand why you would say that. Not just on a podcast, but just in general. Very, very strange.
You just got to watch what you say anywhere you are. Like no matter if you're like if you're big time or like small or like unknown, still you don't want to be caught up in all that, and you definitely don't want to be mixed with any bad reputations.
Oh yeah. And like you said, you better watch what you say or even actions too, because like you said about the Flames coach, about it happened a couple of years ago with the abuse of players. You never know what can come back to haunt you. I mean, you may not get caught like right away, but in the near future, there could be some sort of report that comes out and you're busted, and there's no turning back because allegations like that, you're done.
Yeah.
You'll lose your job, and that's it.
Some other news: Ilya Kovalchuk also came back to the NHL and he signed a deal with the Montreal Canadiens. It's very good to see because I love Kovalchuk personally. He's always been one of my favorite players to watch. And then when he went to the KHL, I knew he was probably going to come back to the NHL, but I didn't know when. And I believe last year he played with the Los Angeles Kings, but he didn't do that great. So
the Kings are not that great of a spot either.
The Canadiens gave him a shot, are giving him a shot right now. So it's going to be – I think he's going to get his touch back and he will become a top goal scorer like he was back with the New Jersey Devils when he was a full-time NHLer. What do you think of Kovalchuk coming back?
I think it's, like I said, great for the NHL, you know. More news reeling in. I think, like you said, coming from another league, it's must-see TV because, like you said, the return, it gets people's attention, and there you go. He's making noise already coming back. I think it's great for the NHL. For
sure. So it's a good marketing thing too.
Exactly.
Especially for the Canadians and the league in general. You get a star coming back. It's always going to bring some attention back to the game.
Absolutely.
Marleau has played in 1,700. Patrick Marleau has played in 1,700 NHL games. That's incredible. That's a lot of years and a lot of games that you could play.
Well, I see the caption right there, and also that's an incredible milestone for Patrick Marleau. But also, Joe Pavelski returned to San Jose. Another one. That's one of the moves that I thought was very shocking in the offseason was Joe Pavelski leaving the Sharks.
Yeah, that also really surprised me. I expected Pavelski to be with the Sharks his entire career.
Yeah, he's sometimes those veteran players, just you get a feel for a certain couple of them that you think you'll think
just like Erik Karlsson with the Ottawa Senators, and now he's with the Sharks.
Is he a veteran though? I don't think he's like as old as Pavelski.
I think he's around the same age as him. But like I expected Karlsson to stay with the Senators.
I feel like that situation was a little bit different though, because there were trade rumors for a little bit.
That is true.
Yeah, Pavelski was one of those guys where nobody expected him to just leave like that. There was speculation about Karlsson for a good amount now about the Senators not trading him for season or two before he actually did get traded.
Another interesting move was Corey Perry leaving the Anaheim Ducks to go to the Dallas Stars.
Just about to say that one too. Another one, veteran, pretty important to his team. The only really noteworthy guy on that Ducks team that sticks out. Another veteran leaves. Same destination for Joe Pavelski, the Dallas Stars.
Corey Perry got kicked out of the game like 3 minutes in the Winter Classic because he elbowed someone.
That's typical Corey Perry right there. That's what I knew. That's what I really knew the Anaheim Ducks for is Corey Perry and mostly dirty, cheap shots they would take.
It was funny. You're playing in a Winter Classic game when you want to stay in the entire game instead of.
I don't think when you're Corey Perry it doesn't matter. I think when you get a free elbow that you're going to take that chance.
In other news, Elvis Merzlikins gets his first NHL shutout as the Blue Jackets top the Golden Knights tonight, actually. He made 27 saves for Columbus. This is an interesting goaltending situation for Columbus Blue Jackets because their starter, Eunice Korpisalo, was the original starter before, or was a backup before Sergei Bobrovsky left for the Florida Panthers. And that situation I thought was going to be really, really tough to fix, especially since Eunice Korpisalo had some inconsistencies, but he plays good in some games, and then he has inconsistent games other games. But it's good to see Korpisalo get into a groove now since he's in the starting role for the Blue Jackets, and it's good to see Elvis Merzlikins come from overseas, I believe, last year, and to compete at this level at this time and early in his career and get a shutout against a top Golden Knights team. It's really good.
Yeah, I was going to touch base on the Bobrovsky thing too. Another one interesting situation though is that whole thing. Bobrovsky, again, another veteran leading for a big deal for another team. Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes.
For both of those goalies.
Mm-hmm.
Bobrovsky was one of the better goalies for a couple of years, and then he suddenly leaves, and now these two are stepping up big to the plate or to the net.
Korpisalo is filling that role for sure, and Elvis is close second. So that's always a good thing to have as a team. Did you see that Korpisalo got injured against the Hawks, and Merzlikins had to come in a shootout against Patrick Kane to be the first one to shoot against.
Did he save it?
Patrick Kane against Merzlikins. What do you think's going to happen?
He got him.
Yeah, Kane scored.
Well, it's worth a guess, right? Sometimes the guy can have a bad shot, whatever. But Patrick Kane, yeah,
Patrick Kane is not going to miss, especially in a shootout
against a rookie goalie.
Especially since he was cold and he was sitting on the bench the entire game. So not a good situation to come into.
No.
Another good off-season signing was James Reimer for the Hurricanes. James Reimer, he played for Toronto Marlies, played for Florida last year too, and
he's been flipping around, wasn't he? A Maple Leaf as well.
Yeah, he's been flipping around, so it's good to see him having some success with the Hurricanes right now. The other day, he made 41 saves and shut out the LA Kings. When you get a 41 save shutout, that's pretty good.
That's crazy.
And we'll move on to the NHL All-Star Game. It's coming up in the next few weeks, and the rosters have been announced. What are you excited to see for the NHL All-Star Game in St. Louis this year?
Well, the defending champions get to host, so that's going to be fun. I don't know. I honestly enjoy, what's it called? The skills. I really enjoy the skills competition, honestly, more than the All-Star Game itself, because there's so many unique and
all these players are creative, and they get creative with all their, especially in the breakaway challenge. You'll see, Patrick Kane did that Superman one a few years ago.
Clark Kent glasses, that was iconic.
And then there's a lot of, other very creative goals and
just competition.
Yeah, just competition.
The challenges
as a whole.
In general, even the shot, the fast shot one.
The hardest shot.
Hardest shot.
Yeah. That's always a good one to watch, especially when they blow over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, Roman. It was hard to catch. I believe it was Roman Yossi normally tops that one, 108.
I think Shea Weber also is
Shea
up there.
Weber, yes.
Victor Hedman's also up there. I think he won a couple years ago with 104 maybe, I think, something like that. It's always fun to watch all these all these skills competitions like breakaway challenge, the save relay for goalies. They just recently had the goalie where they shoot the puck from the crease and try to score a goal. That's pretty cool. Hardest shot, accuracy. The list goes on and on. It's always a fun time for players, families, fans, anyone that loves watching or playing hockey. It's always a fun event. And then you got the NHL All-Star game the next day, 3-on-3. That's also very interesting, especially I like this format a lot better than like the old format.
Yeah, they've been tweaking it a lot. So yeah, 3-on-3. I think that calls for more goals, more action.
For sure, especially since a lot of overtimes end in 3-on-3 now. And you get a lot of goals with that. Makes it a lot more fun, and it's like shortened too, which
Absolutely.
you still get a lot of action in those short times. So the rosters were announced a week ago. And for the Atlantic Division, you got Tyler Bertuzzi's first appearance from the Detroit Red Wings. Anthony Duclair, former Blackhawk. With the Ottawa Senators, his first appearance. Jack Eichel from Buffalo, his third appearance. Jonathan Huberdeau from Florida, his first. Mitch Marner, Toronto, first. Austin Matthews from Toronto, fourth. David Pastrnak, who's also a captain. It's his second All-Star game. Then you got Victor Hedman, Shea Weber. Then you got Freddie Anderson and Tuukka Rask as your goalies. That's a pretty solid lineup, if you ask me.
Surprised to see Tuukka Rask only with his second All-Star game appearance. He's been the goalie for the Bruins for
He's been dominating the league for a while now.
Yeah, only second.
Second.
And like I said, been around for about a decade.
And then for the Metropolitan, you got Matthew Barzal, Kyle Palmieri, Artemi Panarin, Travis Konechny, TJ Oshie, John Carlson, Dougie Hamilton, Seth Jones, Chris Letang. Then you got Braden Holtby and Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry is a surprise, especially since he's been going up and down from the AHL earlier in the season with Wilkes-Barre, Scranton Penguins. It's good to see him get in a groove because I've always watched him just from like his recent years and with Pittsburgh, and he's a really young goalie, so it's interesting to see him get his first NHL appearance this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jake Gensel and Eunice Korpisalo were replaced because of injury, and forward Alex Ovechkin has chosen not to play in the All-Star game. What do you think of players choosing if they want to participate in the NHL All-Star game or not?
I could see it in a way. I mean, it's disappointing from a fan standpoint, but when you look at it from an athlete standpoint, you don't want to
risk injury, especially if your team's trying to make a run for the playoffs.
And when you're Alexander Ovechkin, maybe the best player or top 5 player in the league, and a very competitive Washington Capitals team, you don't want to mess anything up. You don't want to mess any chances. I understand.
Yeah, and then, I totally agree with that, especially for, like, an injury standpoint or, like, if your team's trying to make a run for the playoffs, you don't want to be out long-term, especially since this is a fun event. So you don't want to injure yourself or anything like that. So moving on to the Central Division, you got Patrick Kane, Nathan McKinnon, Ryan O'Reilly, David Perron, Mark Scheifele, Tyler Seguin, Eric Stahl, Roman Josi, Alex Pietrangelo, Jordan Binnington, and Connor Hellebuck. Binnington, with his first NHL All-Star appearance, that does not come to a surprise at all.
No, it was only a matter of time.
He was an AHL All-Star last year, too. So, back-to-back All-Star appearances in 2 different leagues. It's pretty good. And then you got the Pacific Division. You got Thomas Hertl, Leon Draisaitl, Anze Kopitar, Connor McDavid, Elias Pettersson, Max Pacioretty, Matthew Tkachuk, Mark Giordano, Quinn Hughes, Jacob Markstrom, Darcy Kemper. and Jacob Silverberg was supposed to, but he has personal stuff going on. Then you got Logan Couture, who got injured, and then Marc-Andre Fleury has chosen not to play in the All-Star game, which again I get because you don't want to get injured, and Vegas it has been a playoff team for the past 3 years since they've been in the league,
leading the Pacific Division.
So I wouldn't want to mess anything up like that. So, what are your predictions? Who do you think is going to come up as top division for the NHL All-Star game?
I don't know. It's really hard to predict.
I'm going to go Central Division. Central Division is going to win the tournament thing that they do. They have a really solid lineup, and they got a lot of superstars in that lineup, and a lot of guys that can do very, very difficult things and make it look super easy.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think we'll see some unpredictable stuff go on. I'm just going to go with that. I'm not going to go a certain prediction.
So I believe that's all the NHL news we have right now. We'll do predictions for NHL for like the playoffs when it comes closer, like that end of the season. We're gonna be doing a lot more hockey podcasts now, hockey episodes, because these are fun to make, especially since I like hockey and you just went to the Hawks game, so like you got that experience, and hockey's a fun sport. So let's hop into the AHL. So let's go look at the league standings right now. On the Atlantic Division, you got Hartford Wolfpack leading the division 23-9-2-5 with 53 points in 39 games played, which is, I believe, is second best in the whole league, or third best in the whole league. We'll get to whoever's first and second soon. Then you got the Hershey Bears 23-11, 2-3, Providence Bruins, Springfield Thunderbirds, Charlotte Checkers, Wilkes-Barre Grand Penguins.
The defending champions, huh?
Yeah, Charlotte Checkers, defending Calder Cup champions, not doing so great. And then you got Wilkes-Barre Grand Penguins, Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Then you got Bridgeport Sound Tigers closing out the Atlantic Division. Then we move on to the North Division. We got the Utica Comets going 22-13, 2-2 so far. Then you got Rochester Americans, Belleville Senators, Laval Rocket, Toronto Marlies, Syracuse Crunch, which Zach Ficoli's on there right now, who we just recently interviewed. So hopefully he'll do. So we believe he'll do big things for the Syracuse Crunch. So let's go Crunch, I guess you could say. Then you got the Cleveland Monsters at 500. Then you got the Binghamton Devils to close out the North Division. Central Division, you got the leading Milwaukee Admirals, the best in the entire American Hockey League, with 26-7-4-2 for 58 points in 39 games, which is incredible which is really good for this time right now, especially since a lot of teams are farther behind than they're 11 points ahead of the second place Iowa Wild in that division. Then we got my hometown team,
Jack's beloved,
and my favorite hockey team, the Chicago Wolves, 19-17, 3-1. Then you got the Rockford Ice Hogs, which is who are 5 points behind the Wolves. Then you got the Texas Stars, Grand Rapids Griffins, Manitoba Moose, and the San Antonio Rampage to close out the Central Division. Then you got, for the Pacific Division, you got Tucson Roadrunners, 26-8-1, who is tied for second best in the entire league with Hartford. And then you got Stockton, Colorado Eagles, Bakersfield Condors, Ontario Reign, San Diego Gulls, and the San Jose Barracuda. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this season plays out for the AHL, along with the NHL, but especially for the AHL since a lot of teams are starting really hot, but usually they tend to dip down in the standings by the end of the season. So we'll see how that goes, especially with the Milwaukee Admirals being 58 points with just barely passing halfway of point in the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they do by the time April 11th comes, when the end of the season is. So let's get into some news. Wait, before we get to news, Tyler, how's your experience when I take you to Chicago Wolves games?
Very fun, to say the least. I've been to quite a few Wolves games over the last 2 years. This guy's been taking me along. Pretty fun. You know, even though the Wolves aren't the Blackhawks team, it's still fun to cheer on, technically the hometown team. Even though we're supposed to not like the Ice Hogs, even though they are Illinois, even though they are the Hawks team, we're supposed to not like them because they're the Wolves rivals. But this guy and his family have been Wolves fans forever.
And always will be.
Yeah, experience is great, to say the least.
The experiences at the Wolves games are a lot of fun. It's family friendly. It's cheaper than the Blackhawks, which is you get a lot more out of it.
Blackhawks are top tier, so
yeah, true. But it's always a fun time. I have season tickets there, so it's always a fun time. I love going to every game. I love going to the Blackhawks games too. They're about the same, even though they're both a lot of fun. And anytime I get to go to a hockey game, I enjoy it deeply,
to say
the least. And so let's get into some news. So Mike DiPietro embraces his Utica experience. He's been up and down with Vancouver and the Utica Comets in the most recent weeks, especially as a young player, especially because he's 20. He's only a 20-year-old, and he's going up and down with Vancouver and Utica. I believe if you're at that point in your career, like especially at the beginning, that AHL experience is really necessary for good development and to help you thrive in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, going through the leagues, it really benefits you because like you don't really see a whole lot of people nowadays go from like straight to the draft all the way to the NHL. They gotta work their way up and earn it. And like you said, great opportunity for some players to earn a good reputation and keep moving up.
The AHL All-Star game is coming up in the next 2 weeks, right around the same time as the NHL All-Star game. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I believe it's in Ontario, California, home of the Ontario Reign. So they'll be in California, living the Cali life with the warm weather.
Yeah, no kidding.
Interesting playing hockey in California, though, especially when it's so warm.
It is.
What do you think California hockey would be like? Humid?
That, to say the least. That's why I can't believe California has, 3 teams?
Yeah. And then they have 5 in the AHL.
5?
Yeah.
Wow. It's different for sure.
It is. And one of Chicago Wolves player is in the AHL All-Star game too, which is pretty cool because they usually have like one or two. Like in the past few years, they've had one or two, and so it's good to see a Wolves player represent the Wolves and down in at the All-Star game. So Lucas Elvin is sweet. He's a rookie in the league. He's been leading the rookies in points. So it's good to see the new guys on the team getting some points and helping the team win. Also in some news, Blackwell and Schneider are sparking the offense for the Milwaukee Admirals, especially since Milwaukee's doing really good. Like, you need a lot of people to step up. So Blackwell and Cole Schneider and Colin Blackwell are two veteran forwards, and they're helping the Milwaukee Admirals stay up top in the entire league, which is it's always good to see, especially if you're like the NHL level, especially if you're the Predators organization. It's always nice to have those guys that are stepping up in your AHL team and trying to like propel the team to do greatness.
Yeah.
To do great. This is a good quote here. You are always looking for players who can score and can step up to the next level. So especially at the AHL, that's what Nichols said.
Always is. The youth movement is always alive.
Especially in the AHL, like, you want players to develop, especially at the AHL level, and then once they get to the NHL level, they'll have some experience and they can just build on the experience and like what they had in the AHL and bring it up to the NHL and learn from the top tier NHL players, and then bring down that experience if they get sent down to their own team.
Yeah, what ways could they improve on? What ways can they make themselves better to earn a spot back on the main roster?
You always want to better yourself in anything you do.
Exactly.
You don't want to stay the same. You just want to. That's a life tip. You always want to better yourself. When things aren't going right, work on it. Work on what you're working on. Get better. It's always gonna feel good when you get that success from going to here all the way up to the next level. From good to great, you're gonna have a lot of motivation and a lot of success that way.
Absolutely.
Especially since I play hockey, I use that technique a lot. Like, I always want to better yourself. I'm sure when you played tennis in high school,
yeah,
you always wanted to better yourself and work as hard as you can. Anytime you got, just work, and you will get better.
Exactly. All the hard work pays off.
All the hard work pays off. Trust the process.
You can't give up on yourself.
There's been a few AHL players that have gotten called up to the NHL recently that have been really like a step up from like to help the NHL team. Like Igor Shesterkin played for Hartford Wolfpack, and he got called up to the NHL and made his NHL debut for the New York Rangers. And he showed a lot of poise in his Rangers debut, and he overall got the win. So, and he's a rookie. I believe he's like 20 years old too. So it's just like DiPietro. You just gotta take that experience to the next level, and then take that experience you get from the top level and bring it down to your team in the AHL. And Keegan Kolesar recently got called up from the Chicago Wolves to the Vegas Golden Knights, since the Wolves are affiliated with Vegas. So that's a good thing, especially as a Wolves fan. Nick Waugh has been going up and down for the Wolves in Vegas. The Wolves also got Brandon Peary from Vegas earlier in the season, so that's a huge step for them.
Yep.
Especially since Brandon Peary spent pretty much the entire season last year in the NHL, and he brings that experience down to the Wolves, and it helps them as a team overall.
Exactly.
I believe that's all we got for this episode. So expect us to be more consistent with videos and with episodes, because we got more free time and we're dedicating ourselves to this, and we want you guys to enjoy it. And we really enjoy making these. It's always a lot of fun. And yeah, we have some interviews coming up that we'll get out, and so you gotta stay tuned to that. It's gonna be, you're not gonna want to miss those, and we got a lot more things in the making for 2020. So just do us a favor, hit that like button, comment. If you want us to do something like in some episode of something like another sport or like anything, just comment in the comments below. And of course, subscribe. It helps us know that you guys like what we do as much as we do, and we always enjoy this. We always enjoy the support you guys all give us. And follow our Instagram, On the Spot Sports, with underscores between each word. So on underscore the underscore spot underscore sports, On the Spot Sports, with the underscores in between each word. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. More episodes in the making, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thank you guys so much again for listening, and hope you enjoy what's next to come. See you, everyone.
See you guys.